All right. We are live. Okay, so guys, we aren't officially starting for another 5 minutes, but I wanted to get the live started so those of you could see it pop up and be reminded, oh yeah, there's a live in 5 minutes, and come join.
Doing that thing.
Right, the thing. So you can join Kirby and I. For those of you that are watching this after the fact, you are going to just stare at Kirby and I staring at you for 5 minutes. So I suggest you skip ahead. Because we're really just going to bullshit for the next 5 minutes until people show up and it's our start time.
Until it's actually a real go time.
Yep. Real go time. Real go time. Yep. Not for 5 minutes. So, did you end up connecting your social media to this?
I believe that was done.
Okay, good.
So hopefully.
Fabulous. Yeah. If you say some stuff that we want viewers to remember, I'm going to put them in the comments. I don't think you can add to the comments. So like if you have a community acupuncture coming up or something that you want, dates, locations, that kind of stuff, just tell me and I can throw it in the comment and then.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because we are, Tempe Pilates is hosting me on the 27th at 1.
And that's community?
For community style. And then again, April.
Hold on. You hold on.
Type faster.
All right. Well, I wasn't prepped. I said that. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay. And I was like, okay. So community acupuncture opportunities. We've got Tempe Pilates.
Correct.
What days?
On the 27th of March.
What time?
1:15.
Okay.
And the 17th of April.
Okay.
At 3:15.
Okay. Any others?
Not that would give people a lot of time to prepare for that. Because on Thursday, I'm doing another one at 11:30 in the morning.
Okay, so.
Okay.
What? That one's going to be yourself. Don't limit people, Kirby. Come on, man.
You got it.
Okay, so this Thursday, where is it?
Thursday at Real One Studios.
What's Thursday's date?
The 23rd, if I did my math correctly.
What time?
11:30 a.m.
Okay. So I got 3 days right now. This week on Thursday, 11:30 a.m. Tempe Pilates on the 27th at 1:15, and then again in April 17th at 3:15. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, I'm going to put those in the comments right now so people have them. Anybody who's live and or who's watching this after. So when we dive into this in 2 minutes, if you aren't familiar with community acupuncture, throughout the sometime within the interview, Kirby's going to explain what exactly that means. And I love it. I did this with Kirby. What was that, last week? No, not last week. It was the week before. And it was great. I don't know that I followed up with you to tell you that my workout was significantly different and easier the next day. My back was not locking up the way it had been for the last few weeks. Nice. When I went to do my squats. I was actually able to get through the full workout.
And that's what a lot of people find, actually. Maybe right after, maybe I feel better, maybe I don't know. And then sometime within a couple hours, maybe a day, whoa, hey, what's going on there? That happens quite frequently.
Yeah, I'm definitely a 24-hour on almost everything. Yeah. All right, so we're in our final minute countdown, and then we'll officially get started. I'm going to shut my sound off. Oh, I'm also going to shut down my email because that always dings.
All those people that are looking for you right now.
Exactly. Let's do this, Teresa.
Should I have the grapes or the orange?
Whatever one sounds better. Eat with joy.
Right.
All right, so we're going to kick this puppy off. So guys, if you are here, you most likely already know me, but just in case you don't, and you're a Kirby follower, not a Teresa follower, I am Teresa Paganini. I own Love Yourself Lean. I'm a behavioral change specialist and weight management specialist. And what I do is I help people that struggle with weight loss, generally with obesity, and consistently lose gain. And what I do is I come at weight loss from a completely different methodology than most. I start with the mind. I think our mindset will dictate whether we're successful or not. So there are self-limiting beliefs, there are fears of success, there are compulsions to be perfect that tend to continually derail us. And so I start there and I work on all of those barriers to our success. And then we discuss nutrition, how to eat in a healthy manner, healthy and sustainable manner, to not only lose weight, but maintain it. And then how do we incorporate movement safely based on your current activity level? And so using all avenues of health to get you into a healthy mindset, a healthy body, and a healthy lifestyle. And speaking of that, I do have a workshop coming up tomorrow. So I'm going to do a shameless plug really quickly. It's called my BFD workshop. And this is for those of you that do struggle with mindset. If you do struggle with feelings of I'm just not enough. And so unless you're absolutely perfect to the nth degree on a diet, you just don't allow yourself to lose any weight, or you feel just extremely alone with all the crazy mind stuff that goes on in your head. You're not, I promise. And so tomorrow, starting at 5:30 p.m., we have 4 or 5 weeks of this 1-hour workshop. It's live, it's virtual, anywhere in the country you can join in on this, and we can start working on those mindset limitations to your successful weight loss. If you want to know more, go to loveyoulean.com and you'll be able to easily find it and register. So that is me. And today I am super, super excited to have Kirby Woods on my program because I think he's super special. I love him as a person. I respect him as a business owner and an acupuncturist. And so I'm really excited to get him in front of my following so you guys can learn more both about acupuncture and him specifically. So Kirby, I'm going to hand it off to you to give yourself a little, like I did, introduction of who you are.
All right. Thank you very much, Teresa. First of all, everybody needs to know I don't really use the real name Robert. I lost an argument between my parents when I was born. So I do answer to Kirby, though legally my name is Robert Woods. I'm a licensed acupuncturist. I've been licensed specifically since July of 2018. I started off 2 practices at the same time. My business, QingDao Wellness, and Love, Light, and Healing Center. Separated from Love, Light, and Healing Center at the end of 21, and I've been doing this all by my lonesome. I believe
because you're that good.
or that crazy, who knows? You notice I have no hair, so obviously there's something going on there. One of the things that I love about what I do, Chinese medicine, acupuncture has been around for several thousand years, depending on which resource you look at. And they've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how we can help people, how we can get that little bit of oomph in the normal processes to whatever it is we want to go, get a little bit closer to being efficient and effective in how this organism runs. It takes quite a lot of time sometimes to look at several different options and to come to the best correlation for the person right in front of me for the part of the journey that they're in. And that's a unique situation where I can make, hopefully in a very quick amount of time, a significant change for somebody where they can get a little closer to where they want to be. I do this on the road. I travel into folks' home. I treat them in their homes, in their businesses, wherever it is that I can access them. And I use every tool in the toolbox, so to speak, as much as I can. So that's kind of where I'm at with that whole starting out. I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you, Teresa, for inviting me on this. This is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. And so one of the things I want to point out immediately, in case he's so modest in how he talks, so I'm gonna like do the little highlights. I feel like if I was more technological, I could like have text show up on the screen, but I'm not. So I'm gonna use my big mouth instead. But if you didn't notice, Kirby did state he goes to you. So I think that's really a big key difference in what he does than a lot of other acupuncturists. But he is going to your workplace, he's going to your home. So the convenience factor is humongous. And he does go all over the place. So there's very little limitations. In fact, do you have a limit on your boundary?
A roughly arbitrary number of 1 hour. So from my home, if I can get to somebody in an hour-ish, there I am.
and where's home?
Queen Creek.
Okay. So there you go, guys. There's very few places. Now, Queen Creek is out there, but still, you can get almost everywhere in an hour.
Yep. And that's a soft number. Yeah. I mean, I go to Ahwatukee. I do have Central Phoenix. I go down to Casa Grande. What's that place on the other side of Eloy? Arizona City. I mean, so I've actually been offered an opportunity, maybe possibly to do a community style in Tucson. That's still very much in the works and in the planning stages. So, yeah, if I can get there, I can get there.
You guys are getting secret information. It's just early in the works. You may be in Tucson. Nice, very nice. Yep. So, Kirby, I don't know how much people know about acupuncture. So let's start with the bare bones basics. Yep. What is it?
By the truth definition, you're taking a filiform needle. That's Latin for hair-like. It's very, very small. And a lot of people get stuck on that word needle. I wish that there was a different word in English than that. It's really, truly very, very, very tiny that is inserted into the body. There are well over 300 points on the body, and each one of those points have very specific uses and properties to them. So we can treat internal medicine, we can treat psycho-emotional type things, we can have injuries, pain, I mean, you name it, by knowing in what combination. Well, first of all, understanding what it is that's gone awry, where the stagecoach has kind of left the trail, what processes are more likely to lead that stagecoach back onto the trail, and then what points support those two processes. It's been hypothesized that one of the strongest things that acupuncture can do is actually, interestingly enough, two systems that in specific that do not exist in Chinese medicine, the nervous system and the endocrine system, are directly regulated by the use of these needles. So we bring down the autonomic response, so to speak, of the central nervous system, and we can create significant changes in the psycho-emotional realm by possibly upregulating the nervous system. We might very well affect the endocrine system, which is the messenger system for the entire body. Everything comes back to that endocrine response. So by stimulating these points, we stimulate just a little bit more efficiency from this organic system and affect an outcome that might be much stronger than we ever really realized.
So I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Mm-hmm. So, right, like I know acupuncture, obviously. I'm friends with Kirby. I've had it done. But for those that don't, I'm gonna baby step us. So we've got this really hair-like needle. It's really little, and it really is. But so for somebody who was just in the hospital last week and got poked with lots of needles, right? I'm thinking, there's a needle going into my vein and it's being shoved in there. So what is it? Let's talk more about what do you do with the needle?
Okay, that's actually a good point. First of all, to go with that, that hypodermic needle that's used in the hospital that is actually going intravenous, I need people to realize, or I'd like people to realize, at least 30 of my needles can fit in the end of that hypodermic needle. So when we're talking thin, we're talking itty bitty.
Do you have one there?
Do I have a needle right here in front of me? I actually do not. But if I held it up right here, if it literally, this is what you would see. There's nothing to this thing. It's I can give you a measurement. It's 0.0. The diameter that I use is 0.22 millimeters. Anybody that's not in the metric system doesn't understand what it is, but it literally would disappear right here, right in front of my face.
So what are you doing?
When I say inserting the needle, I am putting it below the surface of the skin. It is not deep enough to get into the venous system. It's actually not even really, well, it can go to the lower levels of the dermis, the very deepest portion of the skin, if I need it to go to that level. Generally speaking, though, it's a fairly superficial application of this tiny needle, because in the modern world, one thing that we think might be the problem of this, the needle insertion sets off perhaps a histamine response, which means the body's saying, whoa, what's that? Is that supposed to be here? Should we do something about that? And it sends out these messenger RNA and other small systems, eosinophils and things like this, into the lymphatic system, into the bloodstream to go and find this thing. If it's something that needs to be attacked and gotten out of the body, let's do that. It's just enough response to start the system, but not actually go into a full allergic reaction. So we might see a little bit of redness on the skin around the needle. That's actually a wonderful thing. That's the body responding. It's just enough response to start a process that ends, again, in the central nervous system with things like release of dopamine and other feel-good chemicals in the brain that go out through it. And this is where some people will say, okay, it's completely the placebo effect. That is, I tell the patient they're going to get better. I stab them. I mean, needle them.
I said poke.
I put the tools in place, and because I believe what I'm doing, and they believe that I know what I'm doing, then they're going to get better. And possibly that has a lot to play with it. My answer to that,
my answer is, who cares? If it works, it works. Jesus, people, like, just go with it. Like, placebo, not placebo. You want to feel better. So, like,
and that's it. And that's it. And we are beings on a psycho-emotional level. We literally are powerful enough creative forces that we can create anything we think about. So if I think that I'm going to get better, if I think that I can help the patient and the patient thinks that I actually know what I'm talking about and they feel better, the mechanism of that is unimportant to me, right? I did my job. Yeah. And I'm going to move on to the next one. So we're not going into the vein. We're not going into deeper structures, the actual nervous system, for instance. Most likely we're stimulating very superficial motor neurons, those ones that allow us to activate muscles and move, or sensory neurons, which are temperature, pressure, things like this, how we interact with the world. And through that cascade effect, we go into larger and larger structures. That signal is passed back all the way to this big computer in the top, and we have a change. So it's really not as scary as we might think, and yet way more powerful than something as simple as this little tiny hair-like structure would really be thought to be. It's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah. So this is how I kind of see it, and tell me if I'm wrong. So first of all, the body wants to be in homeostasis, which means it wants to be at its best. And so first of all, when the needle does go in, it's probably 99.5% outside your body. Mm-hmm. There's very little of it actually in you. What's the guy that has the nails all over his head in the
Pinhead?
Is that his name?
Pinhead from Hellraiser. Yep.
Is that it? So anyway, you kind of look like that. Like, it's barely even in you. And what it's doing is, my analogy is like, if you were to throw a little pebble in a lake, all of a sudden you've got these ripples that go out and you disturb the entire lake, but it's just this tiny little pebble. And so this needle is barely in there, but just enough to create that ripple effect. So the body is woken up to say, hey, I'm out of homeostasis. Oh, right. My job is to go back. Let me focus there. Like, that just got my attention. So now I'm going to focus and do what I know how to do to put myself back where I belong. And that's the quote unquote histamine response that the needle kind of generates. It generates that, focus there. Right. There's so many things going on in my body. My body can't really figure out what the heck. So that little tiny little needle thing that's going to create that ripple is going to get the body's attention to go, got it. Okay. I need help there.
And that's, I think that's a really great analogy. As a species, humans are extraordinarily adaptive. I mean, that's kind of how we've gotten to the top of the food chain, so to speak. And so anything that comes up that puts stress on that normal state, stress is where we grow and adapt, right? And so I'm not feeling quite 100%. I need to figure out how to work with this. So then we just naturally, completely subconsciously adapt, and we grow into this. And sometimes that adaptation works really, really well for this scenario. And then this scenario is no longer applicable. We grew out of that conversation with our boss, or we got away from that traffic, or whatever it happened to be. But the lesson stuck. How do I now adapt to this new stream? Well, this lesson worked really, really good past. Let's change it ever so slightly and adapt it here. So it becomes a pattern. And we just want to break that pattern and be able to step back a little bit and say, actually, at this point, that adaptation is now detrimental. What can we do differently? How do we move from this? And that's where acupuncture works really, really strongly, because it is so subtle. It's not sitting down in front of a counselor, say, and rehashing the last 20 years of lessons over and over and over again to get this one little change, and then go back and hash it out, get this one little change. We can get these things compacted and build on top of them in a much more simple manner, let's say. It's not easy by any stretch of imagination, but it's not quite as complicated as we'd have it to.
Sure. So we do have some live viewers, guys. If you have questions, throw them in the comments, because that'll make it easy for us to make sure that what your questions are answered. And until I see a few pop up, I'm just gonna keep rolling along. But I'd love really to make this about you. So if you comment, we can. So how long typically is an acupuncture session?
I believe very strongly my job is to provide the patient with whatever they need. So if they get everything they need in a session in 10 minutes, then it's 10 minutes. If they need a little bit more time to sit on that, I've never had a session go much longer than 20, maybe 30 minutes on a very rare occasion. Generally, though, somewhere in that 15 to 30 ranges is a good plan. My first session is a longer session. That's really honestly my first opportunity to get to know not only what the patient would like to have done something different with, where they're at, but how they got there. You know, what exercise do they do? What do they dietary intake? What is their job that they get paid for? That is a change to their overall perspective. How well do they interact with other people? Like all of those things, this is a holistic medicine. So anything and everything that comes into our experience very much has an impact on who and what we are. So I take a lot of time to learn all of that to get to that point. And to really identify from our perspective, it's not a medical diagnosis. You know, we're not talking about hypertension per se or high blood pressure. We're not talking about gallbladder disease, though I will talk about things like maybe it's a gallbladder qi deficiency. So the life force that emanates from the gallbladder and helps us to make a decision is struggling a little bit, right? Or we'll talk about how the digestive tract isn't quite up to par and how we can adjust that. It's a differential diagnosis that really fits very well in the modern biomedical paradigm, because there can be somebody with, say, a kidney infection can have things that they wouldn't necessarily relate to that kidney infection. I'm having a hard time bringing thoughts together and stringing a sentence together, right? That makes perfect sense for my world, and I understand how that works, and I know how we can adjust those underlying disharmonies to bring about a change. Somebody that's sleeping, maybe they're not thinking about how stressed out they are for that exam that's coming, right? And they have that what do they call it? test anxiety. Cool. It makes perfect sense to me. I know how to break that down. I'm not per se treating the anxiety, but the patient might very well find that anxiety reduces or goes away. Right? So again, that holistic approach and being integrative, and I'm not, definitely we're not going to talk about surgery. I don't really want to remove things from people. I'm not talking about I don't really believe in pharmaceuticals. They serve a purpose and they're really, really powerful. They have a place, right? A time and a place for everything. I see somebody with an infection that's going on to gangrene. Guess what, guys? I'm not the person to deal with that. Let's get you to the hospital. Let's get that taken under control. And then I'm going to help rebuild the system after we get that infection out of the way. We got to save your life, right? And that's going to be really important. And all of those kind of, I have a place to play. I'm not going to be the end all and be all for everybody. I'm pretty good at what I do, if I say so myself. I really honestly can make a huge difference for folks. I'm part of a larger team, and that kind of stuff is important.
Yeah, I love that. So I think something else somebody would ask, and it's going to be another one of those, it depends, but I think that's good for people to hear. How many times would somebody need acupuncture to resolve an issue?
That's actually not as complicated as you would think. There's really kind of two answers with that. If something is very, very acute, I just stepped off that curb and twisted my ankle. Chances are not very many at all. 1, 2, 3, maybe. And we've caught that in a place where it's actually become a repetitive habit. If on the other hand, I've been suffering with, eczema.
Low back pain for 25 years.
Right? There's a lot going on with that. A rule of thumb in Chinese medicine, and this is under ideal conditions, everything works out exactly perfectly, quote unquote. For every year that a disease has gone on, 1 month of continuous treatment don't do. So it's been 25 years. We really should expect, 25 months of treatment or 25 weeks of treatment, whatever it is. So, I mean, there's some rule of assumption there. Now, again, that's in an ideal world. So all of the limited conditions that are put in place from diet and exercise, pharmaceuticals, stress and anxiety, whatever, those are addressed in a way that the patient can immediately make changes on those. And those changes are significant enough to build. Obviously, we can move that really, really quickly. For something that we would classify as a yin condition. So let's say, good example, many menopausal type things that didn't just come on last week when we started having these symptoms. Like, this is kind of a lifetime thing that's built slowly and steadily. You've been on this planet for 48, 52 years, whatever it happens to be, doing many of those things. This isn't something we're going to turn around, and yin tends to turn around much slower than yang. So we would expect that's going to take a little bit longer. But it's not, I mean, there are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of things that I can't say. And I don't, honestly, some people will say, hey, before I have a contract with you, I want to know that you can get rid of this neuropathy 100%, one treatment. My answer probably is going to be, thank you for calling. I really want to support you however I will, but I don't think that we can be, good teammates and work that way. On the other hand, I know that I can do quite a lot for that. I just need some time and some ability to learn all of the nuances of their life to help in its most effectively way.
And you know what, I'm gonna throw a point of reality just for people. It's with anything in your own improvement of health. You are a key player in your recovery. And so I can give you the best nutrition and movement plan ever created. However, your ability to follow it, your willingness to follow it, and quite frankly, your willingness to believe it will work will determine its success rate. And so the same goes with anything, whether it's chiropractics, physical therapy, Western medicine, Eastern medicine, acupuncture. If one, you don't believe it, it's probably not going to work. Two, if you aren't doing your thing on your side, like if you've got low back pain, you go get acupuncture and then you go deadlift 300 pounds. Yeah, your back's probably not going to feel better. So you have to take ownership, of course, of your result also, which is, I think that's just important. And anytime you go into the wellness space, looking for a guarantee, you can't, because the health practitioner is only as good as you are as a patient. And so I think that's really important to take into note as well, especially I think with something like acupuncture, it's working on the energetic system, it's working on the physical system, it's working on many things. And that's where there's, I think, a lot of cynics with acupuncture. And my first thought personally, and correct me if you think something different, Kirby, is if you are really that cynical, I wouldn't even bother. Wait until you can get yourself into a headspace of thinking, I'd really like to see how acupuncture works, rather than I'd really love to prove how acupuncture doesn't work.
Yeah, and that's a really tricky point that you bring up. Actually, many people have sort of a hard, spiky exterior, right? They don't want to necessarily set themselves up for disappointment, right? So they step into there and they sound very much like your type 2 person there. Like, yeah, I want to disprove this. But the truth of the matter is they're really super desperate. They've also been told many, many, many times how silly they are for looking at these other options, or how there's so little that can be done, how little we understand this, whatever happens to be. So it's really sometimes very challenging to figure out which group I might be talking to, which one of the person I'm talking to. I approach it in my own practice. I love people. I really want to do the best that I possibly can for them. And if they truly present themselves to me as somebody that might need to be led through this process, and I find out very quickly that they're actually looking to create some sort of paradigm that Eastern medicine acupuncture doesn't work. Hey, I'm not going to be able to convince them by arguing with them. There's nothing, you can't say the right thing to the wrong person, right? So I wish them really well. I help them however I possibly can, give them whatever need, and allow them to go out. And I know somewhere out there is something or someone who's going to be what they need. And I'm blessed that I get to be a part of that journey and to be somebody that can point them in a direction, perhaps. On the other hand, I get the person that is just really, honestly, they want to have their guard up. They want to make sure that they are safe. And then when something changes, they go, whoa, hold on, this has never happened before. Now this is a totally different suspicion and interaction. Sometimes it's really small. And truthfully, if somebody were in a chronic situation where for 25 years they're getting no answers or very, very limited answers, they don't understand what the heck is going on. They can't even understand what they're being told, what's going on in their own body. Even a small thing like, hey, for the first time ever, I got 2 solid hours of sleep before I was woke up. That's a big deal. That's a huge deal. And I personally want to remind them, hey, it's little tiny things. A simple pebble will create an entire landslide. This is fantastic. Let's take the time and celebrate this, and then reset and move forward and go in that direction, right? And so
build on
it. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between those two. Ultimately, at the end of the day, my heart is geared towards let's leave it a little better than I found it, and my intentions are very clear. And I don't want to use people. I want to empower people. And if they want to use me, well, it is what it is, and we'll move on. We'll find a way, whatever that happens to be, one way or another.
See why I love him. See why I let him poke me. What a good guy. So let's talk a little bit in the comments. If you guys saw before we officially started at noon, but we're live a little bit early. I threw in the comments the different community acupuncture opportunities that Kirby's got going in the next kind of month. And so Kirby, talk a little bit about what community acupuncture is and what's the benefit of that versus a one-on-one.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So as the name would imply, community, so a group. I define personally community is more than one. So I have 2 people, I have 10 people in the same room. I'm obviously not going to be asking about, menstrual stuff or elimination kind of things like that. People don't want to talk about that. And truthfully, that person on the other side of the room probably doesn't want to know that. right? So
I don't want to know about your bowel movements. What?
right. Wait, hold on a second.
What was your
I
name
mean,
again?
I get really paid very well to ask these kind of questions, but I also know that not everybody's in my space and field. So it is what it is. So we have a group, small group, large group, in the same space. The challenge for the practitioner: how do you gather the information you need and still be very respectful of people's privacy and that kind of stuff, whatever. So luckily for me, Chinese medicine, acupuncture uses the pulse, so I can feel the pulse. There are 3 positions on each wrist, 3 depths to each position. Each position relates to an organ system, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. I can feel the pulse. Somebody says I have hip pain. I can feel, is this a qi imbalance? Is this a blood imbalance? Is this yin? Is this yang? Is there something else going on? Right. Fairly quickly with that, and I can formulate a treatment. I tend to use what are called the antique points. They're literally from the elbows to the fingertips, from the knees to the toe tips, maybe some scalp, maybe some auricular, other points like that, and get into treatment. Energetically, it's kind of a smorgasbord, or it's a buffet. People come in and they have their stuff. We all walk around with our emotions and our experiences kind of all out here. And there it is in their field, and they sit down, and I might have somebody that's suffering from depression and also somebody that's very, very anxious at the same time in the room. Well, those 2 energies, as they come into that space, they're going to balance each other out. And this depression person is going to pick up on some of that anxiety energy, and they're going to be lifted up. And this anxious person is going to pick up on some of that lowness, and they're going to be kind of, and they come out completely different. So it's super exciting to me. It's really, really, really cool to see. Everybody has a path. Everybody has a uniqueness, and they bring it into the space, and it kind of gets mixed up. And then I throw out there some of my, as some people would call it, woo-woo, whatever. I come in with my stuff, and I add that in there, and then I get to kind of be a little bit of Mickey Mouse in some of those early films, Anastasia, for instance, or not Anastasia, Fantasia, and direct this magic and do this thing. And everybody walks out going, wow, that was so cool. And that's really great for the practitioner, 6 people one time, pow. It's actually something that came from China. They use it very frequently in their hospitals, actually, believe it or not, because it's a totally different system. They are completely integrated into their hospitals. And it's a good way to get as many people in and out of a clinic as they possibly can, rather than the one-on-one. Of course, the downside is there can be some very subtle things that maybe are easily mistaken for something else in the pulse. And so that interview kind of helps to solidify, give me a little bit better gauge of where we're going in there. But both of them have strong power. And there are people that will tell me, you know what, that whole other people in the room while I'm getting treated, not for me. Excellent, no problem. That's why I have the private. And then the other guys are like, well, shoot, I mean, let's try. Let's see what happens. And they're surprised. I've had a couple of people say, yeah, I was surprised, but I don't think I'll do it again. All right, that's cool.
That's it. At least you tried it.
Right, exactly. But that's some fun stuff. In Pilates Tempe, we'll actually have a space that they do sound meditations and things with. So they're going to be laid out on their yoga mats, meditating or whatever they like to do, or whatever. So it might be a little bit different than what happens at Real One Studio, where we have people that have known each other for a very long time that chit chat and have that kind of thing. And every session is completely different. Even with the folks that are chit chatting, the last time we did it, it was dead silence. And I'm wandering around and making sure that everybody didn't pass out or something. So, it's cool stuff though. It's really, really fantastic.
Yeah. I was telling David, my man, like after my last community acupuncture, I was like, yeah, everybody just wanted chit chat. And I was like falling asleep. I was like, I really couldn't contribute very much because I was so relaxed. I was like, I just want to knock out. And I didn't feel the need to like talk, which was nice because they all knew, we all knew each other. And so everybody was like, could talk without me. And I also felt comfortable enough to just be like, I'm just going to lay here and just enjoy the relaxation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was good. That's good.
No, fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Now there's also a financial difference between obviously the one-to-one and a group.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get into the financial stuff, but just also knowing that that's another quote unquote benefit of that community environment.
Yeah.
Is the difference there as well.
Yeah. And that's one thing I really like about, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love being able to pay bills and put fuel in the truck and get sheets and things like that for patient comfort. I love that a ton. But not everybody can necessarily meet me, especially if we start talking about something that's going to take 25 or 30 months to kind of work through. That's a little scary. That's a lot up front. Cool. Here's I can't be of service if there's a limiting belief associated before we ever get started. And money is such a powerful thing, something that we all get kind of wrapped around the wheel, so to speak. Cool. Here's another option that I can be of service, and that price tag, that sticker shock, can be reduced. Another reason that I absolutely love it. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, it makes it possible for people of any budget. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important. I think people immediately, especially with Eastern medicine, because it's not covered by insurance and it's usually all cash, immediately you see just like the $4 sign restaurant, and so you just assume this is the $4 sign wellness. And so just understanding that not necessarily. And I love that about Kirby providing those various options. So no matter where you are financially, don't let it stop you from getting help. And so he does offer quite a few community acupuncture opportunities every month. And so once again, go to the comments. You'll see he's got 3, one this week on Thursday. So if you are available at 11:30 a.m. and you're around the Tempe-ish, Ahwatukee-ish area, that's where he'll be in. So, and like you said, 15, 20 minutes, it's not like you have to take a huge chunk out of your day to get the help that you need. And I think that's hugely important as well. What else? Anything else people should really know about acupuncture or you that we haven't chatted about? And for we're down to one viewer, but our favorite viewer, if you have any questions, throw something out there.
Generally, I get asked people. In fact, in our networking group, I was asked the other day. So I can't come see you because I really don't have anything going on. Well, that's a little bit of a myth. There's a ton of things that I can help out with that maybe aren't wrong, right? It's often thought, well, I'm not in pain, so there's nothing you can do for me. Okay, cool. But how are you sleeping? Are you eliminating? Is your skin itchy? Is there vision problems or nasal stuff? I mean, here in Arizona with this rainy weather we've had, there's going to be well, first of all, who knew that there's wet stuff that falls out of the sky? Never seen that before in my entire life.
What?
And then this wet stuff does this crazy thing that green stuff starts popping up. And so it reproduces and there's pollen and all that other good stuff, whatever, right? I can help with that.
Yeah, all of a sudden my asthma's kicked up. I only ever got asthma after COVID. I had it for 2 months straight, and then I was able to get rid of it. And now all of a sudden, randomly, it's back, and I think it's allergy related.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
The
lung is said to be the sensitive organ. It's the only yin organ that's directly in contact with the environment around. So a lot of things will affect that respiration, that ability to breathe and inspire, right? It's not just the actual act of filling the lung. It's also how we interact with this world. It's really subtle, really cool stuff. But so that's one thing that people probably do not understand or realize. There's a heck of a lot more to it than that. My degree also gives me the ability to work with herbal medications. I don't know if you can see it, but in that cabinet behind my head there is a whole range of herbs that I can use to treat a disharmony and disease. There are thousands of herbal substances in Chinese medicine. I try to keep it down for costs and things like that. But there's that's really fun stuff. Truthfully, I pride myself on my ability to adapt to whatever is coming into my practice. If it's insomnia, I'm going to focus that on that sleep and all the different ways that insomnia comes in there. If it's skin stuff that's really complicated, I'm going to bring everything that I possibly can into that. Here's my 12 tomes in a wheelbarrow, because there's a lot of things that can cause with that. I want to meet my patients exactly where they are and give them the vast resources that I've been able to pick up over the last 10 years. Actually, 13 years. I graduated. Wow. 13 years I've been learning how to do this. This is insane. Anyway, yeah.
So, hey, that brings up a question though. So I'm going to use me as an example. So I've had lower back pain for 25 years. I've got a degenerated disc, right? I'm bone on bone. So I've got arthritis in my back. I've currently got a kidney infection. Surprise. I had a pretty devastating loss in the family, so I'm battling grief. I've got a variety of different unrelated things. When I come to you, Kirby, do I just like, bleh? I'm like, hey, I've got all of these things wrong with me, and we focus a little bit on each? Or do you tend to want to just like, what's your worst one? Like, what's the one that's going to give you the greatest bang for your buck, and let's focus there? Like, are you here or are you here? What do you recommend? What do you believe?
I believe very strongly that the more focus that we can keep a treatment, keep our focus on there, the bigger the results are going to be. It's something that we can grab a hold of. I can move into any of those. So the 25-year disc pain, it's bone on bone. Chances that I'm going to regrow that disc, pretty slim, right?
Oh yeah.
So in that case, that's more palliative. Let's get you as comfortable as we possibly can for as long as you possibly can, right? So in the priority scheme of things, given the fact that there's an active, very new kidney infection, there is a fairly new addition to this asthma that we talked about, and then there's this 25-year-old thing. Those acute ones, I can make a bigger impact very, very quickly. And then after we've changed that, with the shift in the adaptation in your new life, you might say, you know what, let's see what we can do with this or that or the other. As much as I possibly can. Now, it's not uncommon to have my patients kind of come in and they fill out this 6-page document, and they're talking to me about, how their birth was such a long, prolonged thing, and they had this fight with their mom, and their sister doesn't get along with them, and their cousin did this. And to me, the best example I come up with, this is how I think about it myself. They're handing me a plate of spaghetti, and all of those noodles are wrapped around each other, and in there, and they want some change. They want to be heard, but they also are looking for something. And if they can't say this is the one thing that's going to give me results, they treat everything. You're a holistic doc, do everything with that. I'm going to grab one. I'm going to find one end of that spaghetti, and I'm going to start just pulling that noodle out. And if I can continue to do that, pretty soon I'll have an empty plate with all these noodles lined up in front. As long as they're going to give me something to work with and they're going to work on it, I'm going to continue to do that. Right. And when we come to a point where they're like, hey, you know what, you've been doing great things for me, I'm just out of patience with this process. Excellent. That's amazing. I'm glad I could be of service. Please let me know if I can do anything in the future, and just keep working out. So I can work with either. I would prefer, okay, here's my plate of spaghetti, but I really, really like it very much if I could poop. Excellent. Let's start with that.
That's the main strain of spaghetti I want to focus on today.
Right, exactly.
Got it. Sweet. Well, Kirby, this was awesome. I hope everybody got to really get a good understanding of what acupuncture is, how Kirby is so special, his level of passion and care for the human, for the overall individual always comes first, and you can see that. He comes to you, which I think just makes it hugely convenient, provides the community acupuncture opportunities for those that do appreciate the shared energy and vibe, as well as the financial benefit of being in that community environment. And just his level of expertise and his listening skills to truly capture what it is that you need, and works with you as your partner, as your coach, as your team, in your own wellness. He's just a really special individual. And it was really important to me that people get to know him, that he exists, and the services that he provides. It is tough with all the noise out there to be seen, to be heard, for people to know. So I hope you guys have learned what you needed to. If you have more questions, for those of you that are going to watch this later, this is on our Facebook pages, on both of ours. So as you ask questions in the comments, we're going to get them and we'll be able to answer them immediately. So you can also find Kirby. Kirby, how do we find you?
My website is QingDaoWellness.com.
For those that just got scared, it's right there where his name is. So if you're like, how the hell do I spell that? It's really easy. It's right there.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Hi, Tony.
So yeah, that's the easiest way to do it. From there, anybody can do a message to my email or anything, not QingDaoWellness@gmail.com as well.
All right, so I'm going to put this in QingDaoWellness.com.
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to throw that in the comments. And that way people can just kind of go straight there and click that. And that's how you can find Kirby. Tony, we love you. That's Tony Tremonto. He's amazing. Thanks for being and watching and supporting Tony. And so guys, Kirby Woods, once again, QingDao Wellness. And yeah, Kirby, I really appreciate you being here. I love you to death. And I'm super excited for my next community acupuncture moment so we can work on my kidney.
Yeah. Yes. And thank you so much. Love Yourself Lean is a fantastic business. And Teresa is very, very knowledgeable, very passionate about what she does. So together, I think we're a great team.
I agree. In fact, I have an idea to do a weight loss summit, maybe, where we have an acupuncture element, a hypnotherapy element, the nutritional element, mindset element. Like, I want to get a few modalities where it's all very focused on that one challenge for folks. We can all use our expertise to help people get past that hurdle. So
collaboration.
Like it. Stay tuned, everybody. Another top secret thing coming into play.
Fantastic.
All right, everybody, have a great rest of your, what is today?
Today is Monday.
Have a great Monday. God help me. And be at your healthiest and your happiest. And as you need assistance, please reach out to me or Kirby for additional help. Tony, see you Wednesday. Bye.
Bye, everybody.